Welcome to Tom Rhodes Radio Smart Camp, the podcast where you're going to learn some shit. I'll tell you what I learned last week. It was 5 months. We took a break from putting out a podcast. And then last week's episode was our biggest numbers ever for like 1 week of a podcast downloads. So what I learned is we should probably take 5 months between putting out episodes.
No, we will lose a lot of fans. No, of course not.
I guess some people missed us.
Yeah, finally, Tom. What took you so long?
Yeah, well, you know, hey, I had to catch up on my sleep.
So what did you do this week?
Well, I mean, should we talk about the Oscars? Number one?
Yeah.
We went to our good friend Jeff Wills' house. He has a great Oscars party every year. And of course, that big blunder at the end. I would hate to be Brian Cullinan right now. Brian Cullinan was the guy who fucked it all up. The best picture thing. He gave Warren Beatty the wrong envelope. And he's the dude from PricewaterhouseCoopers who was in charge of making sure there was no fuck-ups.
Only since 2014.
Oh, he's only done it since 2014? Yeah. But I think PricewaterhouseCoopers has done it for 83 years.
Forever, yes.
Yeah. And he, at 9:05 p.m., tweeted a photo he took of Emma Stone after she won the Best Actress award. And so he's backstage taking pictures and tweeting and shit. And that's
like you.
Well, it just goes to show you, you know, don't text and drive, don't tweet and fucking give out Oscar envelopes. But it was funny. You and I are at this party. It was almost miraculous, you know. They announced La La Land as the winner, and both of you and I are at this party, and we both screamed, "No!" Because, like, neither one of us liked that movie very much.
It was not the best one, no.
Well, I remember, like, 5 or 6 years ago, the movie The Artist won, this silent movie from France.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, like, one of the biggest piece of shits ever made. And I thought it was going to be a kind of a repeat of that, you know?
Right.
And so the producers of La La Land get up there and they give probably the most boring acceptance speeches ever. And I like to think that the Academy decided that La La Land's producers' speeches were so boring, they decided to take the Oscar away from them and give it to Moonlight. What do you think of that theory?
That's hilarious. Any more jokes?
I think I was stunned Casey Affleck won.
Yes, we were all stunned.
And then he gives an emotionless, monotone acceptance speech. So he just revealed that he wasn't acting at all in Manchester by the Sea. The guy really is an emotionless, monotone kind of person.
Touche, I like that one.
And you said that guy had some sexual harassment issues.
Yes.
Around him. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did it. He sexually harassed 2 female crew members of one of his movies.
Oh, but it wasn't that movie.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
And what was the article you read? Was that in the New Yorker?
What article?
About how should we separate the artist from the person?
Oh, no, it was an L.
Okay.
I just read it on the internet through Facebook.
Right.
And
if I was a woman, I think Elle would be my magazine. I don't know if I've
No, it wouldn't be. It's full of advertisements. No. I was just no. I read it and I slightly disagreed. That's why I kept on reading it. It was about and the person who wrote the article said all these people who sexually harassed women should not allowed to win Oscars and you know or win any awards because they're giving the
power and
sign
approval.
the sign to the world that they can get away with anything, and look, I can still get an award while I sexually harassed or raped. Well, no, rape is actually bad, but...
Well, yeah, I think there's a difference between, like, sexually harassing and saying, you know, hey, you want to,
Accuse
take
stuff.
off your pants and come to my hotel room. That's different than actually raping somebody.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how could anyone ever watch Bill Cosby ever again and not think about the horrendous things that he did to women?
Right.
I mean, it's impossible. But but as far as someone being like a shitty person and doing shitty things, that I greatly dislike Jerry Seinfeld because I met him many years ago and he was a total fucking dick to me. And so I've never been able to watch his comedy or his television show and be able to enjoy, to divorce my brain of the reality of when I met him to enjoying him as an artist.
So yeah, that's what I found very interesting on the article is the discussion. Should people, for example, who vote for the awards, separate the art from the artist? And I thought it was very interesting, and we talked about it for a little bit, and what you said the same thing about Jerry Seinfeld, and I can understand that, but we are the audience, the viewers. I'm talking more about people who give them awards, give them prizes, or give them anything that is a reward for their art, for them. So the person who wrote the article, her opinion was, don't give these people awards anymore, because again it's going to be more difficult to put them in jail or whatever, or to believe women who have been sexually harassed by this person, because they all want to protect that the artist.
Right, but like you and I were talking about after you read the article, that if someone is accused or arrested, we are a country of laws. So
Yes.
if somebody, if there's been an arrest or a lawsuit or a conviction, then I think yes, maybe they should be.
They shouldn't be awarded, right?
Well,
Is
I mean,
that
I
what
don't
you
know.
say?
Now, what just popped into my mind last year when I met Mike Tyson,
I just thought about
and
it.
everybody flipped the fuck out when I posted the photo
Yeah.
with me and him, and people were commenting, how could you take your photo with a rapist? And I answered back, I think the man did his debt to society.
Yeah,
So,
he did.
So as
I
I'm
agree.
speaking those words, I realize, well, maybe I'm wrong a little bit. But
I'm sorry, you're wrong. Little bit?
I was going to say if they had been convicted, then maybe they should never win another award. And then that Mike Tyson thing
I see.
popped into my head, and I realized, well, wait a minute. If the guy did his debt to society, he spent his sentence in prison and whatever. I mean, child molesters are the only ones who can't be rehabilitated by whatever psychology reports, but other people seem to have been.
Right. But it's still an interesting question.
Theory, yeah, it's a good question.
Because look, so what I thought immediately after reading the article was, well, maybe the problem is not that they are being rewarded for their art. The problem is more that when they are accused, they're not taking seriously the women. I think the problem lies there and not in rewarding the people, the artist. Because sometimes it's just based on accusations, and that should be thoroughly investigated. I think that's more important than somebody saying, "Hey, somebody sexually harassed an artist, and he shouldn't get an award." Like, what's his name got an award? We were just talking about him. Affleck, Casey Affleck. Yeah. A lot of articles stated, hey, it was kind of strange that he got awarded with it because he had something hanging over his shoulders.
When you look at a guy, perennial pariah, Woody Allen. He's an absolute cancerous leper, herpes sore in show business. Like they won't nominate him for anything, and he's never been convicted. His Sun Yi, his wife, she's been with him for like 30 years now. I think she's had time to run for the exit You know, hey, the old guy's sleeping. I can run out of the house now.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. So I mean, I guess the answer to the question is it depends who you are.
I guess because I think I'm not familiar with the whole Woody Allen case, but I'm thinking right now, why, if there is any accusation,
he was only accused.
Why is it not on in the court being investigated, or in the past maybe it
Right.
has, but I think this is a job for the law system. We got a law system for that, right?
Yeah, and he's never had legal proceedings brought against him. It's only been accusations. You know, his estranged children say that he molested them and took photos and some weird shit. You know, which is disgusting if it really happened, but there's never been an arrest in that case.
Right, and I don't think the law system, except for bailing out people, is very how you call it, wrong, morally wrong. But I don't think the court system right now, you cannot bribe them, right? As a rich millionaire person.
No, you can't. But there's, as we learned in the drunk driving case with my dad, rich people can do maneuvers. You know,
they can have big lawyers.
They can have big lawyers. They can keep delaying the proceedings for years and years.
Right.
There's certain things they can do.
But that's our law system, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it comes to law, then it's okay. I don't know. Well, what do you want else? What you want to do? You want to, as people, as viewers who watch movies, should we be like the vigilance? I don't think so. You know.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what exactly happened. That's why we have a law system for that. They should sort it out, and then we can see. We should just see the art. And even though we know what the people, what they did, what you have with Jerry Seinfeld, but if you just give an opinion on the art, you should still give an opinion without thinking about what a dick Jerry Seinfeld is.
Yeah, I can't do it. I mean, I see him on television or whatever, and
Right.
I can't sit back and think, oh, there's a pleasant comedian whose comedy is. I'm very critical of him. I think, wow, I wish I could get that excited when I go to the grocery store. I'm just going there to pick up some items. He's going there to write some jokes.
That's hilarious. We had a mayor in the Netherlands who came out that he went to the prostitutes on a regular basis.
Was it a small town or in a city?
Oh, I don't remember. This happened 10 years ago or something like that. But it wasn't a small town. It wasn't a big city either. It wasn't Amsterdam or Rotterdam.
Right.
And it came out that he been to the prostitutes, and there was this big discussion about it. And a lot of people in the Netherlands, because we are very, how you say, an equal country, equalitarian.
Yeah. I love you, Smoochie. I love when you stumble on big English words. I'm
not.
Egalitarian.
Egalitarian country. And a lot of people said, hey man, he's doing a good job as a mayor. Whatever he does is his private life.
Right.
As long as he does his job very well. So when I was reading an article about Hollywood people and artists, I'm thinking about this mayor. And I'm thinking, this is an interesting question. Should we or should we not, separate the art from the artist? It's still a great question. I'm still don't have a solid answer. A solid answer, yeah.
But I mean, like that guy, no laws were violated because prostitution is legal in Holland,
right.
And but it's a great question.
Yeah. Do you remember that guy who I think he did X-Men?
Yeah, which one?
I forgot his name. His first name is Brian something, and he is a big producer, and he did X-Men or something. Now, do you remember those little kids from, I think, the movie Stand By Me?
Yeah.
With River Phoenix and those two other, Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
So Corey Feldman and then his other buddy, who I think he did suicide.
Yeah.
They kept on saying for years that there is this
pedophile ring in Hollywood.
And then Brian is one of them.
Wow.
Now I kind of believe that, for some reason, but I don't understand why.
Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. It was
why
the two
has it never
Corys.
been in court? Is it because they got big lawyers and it never happened?
I don't know.
That's disgusting. I just want to know why the police didn't go a little bit further. Is it because they were rich?
I don't know.
famous.
I mean, look at Michael Jackson. That one kid accused him and he gave him $20 million in a settlement.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you don't give $20 million unless you're guilty, right?
That was a difficult question.
I mean, come on. I wouldn't.
I think he was advised to just give him money and just go away. And I know because I studied memories. I did an internship in California, and I studied with the biggest professor on the field of memories that are
suppressed memories.
No, well, not suppressed. Not at all suppressed.
Remembering incorrectly.
Valuable memories, incorrect memories. Yeah.
Right.
False memories. That's it. Her name is Elizabeth Loftus, and she did some groundbreaking work on false memories. And while the case was happening, and this is when I was going to
UC Irvine.
Yeah, UC Irvine. She said she went. She was asked as a witness. How you call that? Witness of expert witness.
Yeah, expert witness.
Expert witness, and she said those kids were how they were questioned by the psychologist, psychiatrist. Oh my God, was really wrong, and it features all the classic false memory.
I don't know. I never took the class. So
anyway, it gave all the false memories warnings that might have happened during the psychological tests.
So it pulled it out of these kids, kind of persuaded them.
Yeah, this very, very super easy way to do that with kids. For example, I ask you, one of our experiments is this. So I'm an interrogator, right? Or a police officer asking you, hey, so how fast were the cars driving when they touch each other? When they touch each other, right? You say, 5 miles. And I ask the same question again, but I use a different word, a suggestive word. I say, how fast were the cars driving when they crashed into each other? You would actually say a higher, a faster speed, just because the way I ask you that question.
Wow.
Yeah. So, for example, in kids' way with abusive things, you can ask. So you can show a puppet, and then you can ask, where did he put his hand when he touched you?
Wow. Right.
Right. A kid is. I should give an answer because I will get a present afterwards. So that's a suggestive, that's twice, in two ways, very wrong question, suggestive and implicating that he has been touched or she, So that's what goes on in those tests. Okay. And this is the 90s or whatever it was.
Cool. Well, and I love that, that psychology is you got your master's at Leiden University in that. I've always thought it was really cool that you have an insight on these kind of thoughts, and that you spent a semester studying at UC Irvine for this memory psychology, whatever.
False
memory psychology or whatever. That's something that I've always admired about you, because my brain doesn't think like that. But no matter how you slice it, if you bring out a doll right now, I will point to it and show you why and how Casey Affleck should not have won that Oscar. It was a bland, monotone performance.
You're hilarious.
And Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington should have won that Oscar. Hands down.
Hands down, Smush.
So, what else did we learn this week? I learned, so we put out the podcast, and some guy, I'm guessing he's a fan of the podcast, but he tweets to me, he had to stop listening to the podcast because it was an anti-marijuana propaganda, whatever.
I love that.
Podcast. And at no point did I say I'm against marijuana. Nobody has smoked more pot in their life than me. And I never said in the last episode that I was against weed. I just said that I personally stopped smoking the shit. And the number one reason was because it was the only thing you and I ever argued about was the weed. I elaborated how Dutch people don't like weed. So I think it's really interesting, I don't know if I ever told you this story when, I had long hair for 10 years.
Yeah.
When I lived in San Francisco. And, I wanted to be Jim Morrison. I kind of...
You were Jim Morrison.
That whole... and it was smoking weed and being like Mr. Loveboy. I'm hesitating to use the word hippie, but I kind of had this kind of hippie love mentality, right?
Yeah.
So after my sitcom, which was all hair jokes directed at me, which was very frustrating, I thought, you know what? Fuck it. My hair is not why I'm funny. So I cut off my hair. And I went to this Bob Dylan concert. It was really weird. The perception of after I had cut my hair off, like now I was just some regular white guy with short hair, right? Like my long hair was my freak flag. Going to San Francisco and some other places where there were like long-haired hippies and shit, I felt that they judged me for being just some, like white guy.
With long hair?
No, after I had cut it.
Right.
Like they couldn't see me as, hey, I'm still Mr. Cool, Mr. Hippie guy. But it was weird. I went to this, I think when my hippie thoughts ended, I had the short hair, and I went to see Bob Dylan at the Santa Cruz Civic Auditorium. Uh-huh. And I had never seen Bob Dylan before. I got there early when the doors opened at 7, run right down front, and some hippies had put down blankets at the front of the stage.
Right.
And before the show starts, the guy's like, hey, man, you got to get off my blanket, man. Seriously, you got to get off the blanket. And it's like, this guy's thinking he's going to be able to recline picnic style. He's going to get to have this whole area where his blanket is. And I moved up a little corner of it, and I'm standing there. And the guy, the whole time, he's like, come on, man, seriously.
I would have punched him.
Got to get off the blanket, man, seriously. I'm like, hey, whatever happened to peace, love, let's share hippie stuff? Right. And he's like, yeah, man, but not tonight. Tonight you got to get off the blanket. Seriously, you got to get off the blanket. And then, like, Bob Dylan comes out. And the guy's still fucking harping on about, got to get off the blanket, man. Get off the blanket, man. Seriously. And I'm like, if you did not write Blowing in the Wind, now is the time for you to shut the fuck up. And then he's going on the whole concert. Kind of irritated me. Total, like, hacky sack, hippie dude.
The bad kind of hippie.
Yeah. And the remarkable thing, Bob Dylan released a greatest hits album, The Essential Bob Dylan, like 6 months later. And if you bought the album when it first came out, it came with a bonus disc of these 2 live songs. And one of them was from that show that I was at. Cool. And if you listen ever so faintly, you can hear, come on, man, seriously. Get off the blanket, man. Seriously. So it's kind of like that. So like what? So now I'm not smoking pot. Now I'm not cool anymore.
Oh, is that where you were going?
Like I had long hair and I was like part of my identity, and then I cut it, and then like the fucking hippies don't see me as one of their own anymore. So now I smoke pot. And now the pot smokers, I'm the enemy.
No, it's all about tribalism. Trust me, it's all about tribalism.
Well, I tweeted back to the guy, and I said that I think you might have been stoned when you listened to it, and somehow found it to be a personal attack against you. So, and which reminds me to say hello to Cleo in Maastricht.
Hey, Cleo!
Who came to my defense on that on the Twitter.
Oh, really? Oh, how cool!
Yeah. And then also, it was a good week for outrage. the knowledge nuggets, we got rolling again. And so I did the knowledge nugget on Trump's war on the press.
So for people who don't know what knowledge nuggets is,
every Friday I put out these short videos. They're 2 to 3 minutes long. Ashna films it. Ashna lays in the graphics and the music and the subtitles. My wife and I make it together. We're a mom and pop art making factory. And they're like little 2 to 3 minute videos on things that I think people should know. And so the knowledge nugget was about Trump's war on the press. And did you know the first act of every dictator is to diminish the power of the press? That is a fact. You can look at any, and man, people lost their fucking minds, especially on Facebook. This guy that I went to high school with, who's been in the army for like 25 years, sends me the most angry 2,000 word. I didn't know you could leave a 2,000 word comment. This guy leaves a 2,000 word comment. My pathetic attempt at humor. And he said, how dare you call the leader of this country a dictator? I would die for that man. Oh, really? You would die for that guy? The John McCain said exactly the same thing, that is the first act of every dictator. And even Fox News came out and said that was what dictators do. So I'm the first person to present that little knowledge nugget of information. Anyway, and then there was
also had a white nationalist.
And then there was some white nationalist trolls who left some shit on there about Obama bombing 26,000 people.
And the Muslims are taking over.
And then there was like 3 comments where people used the words rape refugees. So I guess that's like
That's awful.
Yeah. So I guess that's like another. These like white nationalist asshole bullies must just sit around and think of bully insult terms like when I got called libtard. So I guess that's like a new thing to call refugees, rape-fugees. Like they're all going to come here and rape somebody. Isn't that disgusting?
But it's so old school. Oh, they're coming in our town. They're destroying our houses. They're raping our daughters. It's the same fear that has always been there.
Right. Well, you saw that was always the fear of the black man was going to rape the white woman. I think that's covered in that brilliant documentary 13th, which didn't win the Oscar. I also disagreed with that one. But also, I mentioned how in that knowledge nugget, how Trump said, look what happened in Sweden last night. So some other people got pissed off at that little element. And they, a couple days later, people left, look what happened in Sweden. And it was some refugees in Sweden outside of Stockholm did have riots, and they turned over some cars and burned them and shit. But that was 2 days after Trump's speech.
Yeah.
So, and they're saying, this is what Trump was talking about. They commented. And it's like, no. It's like the fucking NFL referee, baby. The feet were out of bounds. That is not a completed pass.
I liked it, though. I like to have the arguments, the comments, because I want to know what people think. I want to go into the brain and want to see, okay, let me see what is so weird in your reasoning,
Yeah.
And they just give it to me. You give it to me in the press and in a comment. I'm thinking, oh my God, is that the way you think? And then I think, okay, I understand why you think like that. I super disagree, especially with the white nationalists, but it makes me understand them more.
Right.
For me, it's important because when you have discussions with people who are not different-minded, then you can really have a good, fruitful discussion, You can be open for things.
Well, it's interesting, how people got upset, and I feel Good. You remember how sensitive I used to be to like bad comments and everything?
Yeah.
Actually, upsetting people now, I kind of enjoyed it.
It's because of me.
Because you've conditioned me to like to not take it so bad and see it as a good thing. But you know,
that's what Seneca as well
the
says.
great thing. Yeah. What about Seneca?
That's what Seneca also says. It's almost a present for you
To upset people.
No, to hear people hurting you or people
Insulting you.
Yeah, and also disagreeing with you, because it's a present for you to show what you're made of, you know, and to know yourself and you know, exercise your virtues.
Yeah. Well, you know, like that friend of mine from high school getting upset and saying, you know, I would die for this man. How dare you call our president a dictator? Well, you know, number one, the great thing about the United States of America is we can make fun of our leaders. And the reason I became a comedian was to express myself. And, you know, the thing, I don't think we have to worry about Big Brother and government anymore. We have to worry about our vigilante asshole out of their mind fucking citizens doing harm to you.
Or the influence of the masses. That concerns me the most.
I read that brilliant story that was in The Guardian this past week. Shit, I should have made a note of that. The guy's name, and it's they're influencing the masses with algorithms. He's been a part of
I know what you're talking about.
The fake news.
The billionaire behind Facebook.
Not behind Facebook, behind
Where's my phone?
but like Google searches, and they're not even fucking with the left wing people. They're focused on the right wing people. What was that guy's name? It was like some real sinister shit.
Yeah, but what is the story behind them? I'll look it up while you tell the story.
Well, they've got fake accounts ready to sway opinions on things, and fake news stories.
Robert Mercer.
That's it, Robert Mercer. Look that guy up. Read that Guardian interview.
It's called The Big Data Billionaire Waging War on Mainstream Media.
Like I said, that based on your likes, based on 100 likes, they know they can tell everything about you.
Yeah, that's true.
What your politics are, how you feel about certain things. And it said, based on 300 likes, they know you better than your wife knows you.
I know that. I know that since the pages came alive in Facebook. When I want to know somebody, I go to their Facebook and I want to see what the pages are.
What do you mean
that they
pages?
like. The pages,
Oh,
like,
what they like,
I like
right.
a lot of news outlets and stuff like
Right.
that. So you can really kind of tell a little bit what kind of person it is. And if you have a whole algorithm-based formula behind even what posts you like, then it's kind of like you're filling in a personality questionnaire.
Right.
And that's huge data for companies, for politicians.
Well, he said in that thing that so he got or Steve Bannon somehow that guy put up the money to start Breitbart, and he's really close with Steve Bannon.
That was what it is.
Yeah. And Steve Bannon believes that politics is war, and that he's waging this war between to separate the liberal Americans from the conservative Americans.
Because then, if you have big polarization, big division between in a country, then you can make you can have a bigger impact influencing the whole mass. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, that's
wow.
That whole article is about what they're doing, and that it's only going to keep going. It's only people are going to get more divided and hating each other more, and that there's going to be basically civil war in the streets with the citizens. That's what that article was saying.
That's what they want.
Yeah, just individual people beating, stabbing, and shooting each other based on fucking no tolerance for the other person's opinion.
And what can be done against it?
I don't know. I mean, look. Here's a guy who I've been friends with forever, and he's, how dare you say that about our president? I would die for that man.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's like, here's a guy I've known since high school. He's heard me do thousands of jokes about everything. The guy was emailing me 2 years ago or 3 years ago, asking me if I would come to Iraq and perform for his platoon. So maybe that offer isn't good anymore.
And it was difficult too, because I understand why he said it, because he's fighting a war. He's in a different world than we live in. So I can understand him thinking, oh, my buddy in California, close to Hollywood, is making a statement about my president. The whole reason why he is there, I mean, that goes so against his ideology, it goes against his belief, goes against his whole reasoning, the things that he had to give up in his life to be there. Of course, he's going to go against it. I can understand where he's coming from. The thing what scares me is that he said, how dare you call the president a dictator? In the beginning of the clip, of the knowledge nuggets, you say, clearly you didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you say...
He hears something I didn't say.
Exactly, and that's what fears me. It's the influence of the masses, the stupidity of the masses. People who cannot... who did not teach themselves how to have a good debate, or how to be critical, and how to make a good argument when you are having a discussion.
Right.
He just saw something and he thought, what the fuck, he's attacking my president, without even really going, okay, let me look back at his film,
right,
and see what he's exactly saying. And of course, it looks like nobody's doing that anymore. That kind of fears me.
Right.
And that's what you said. Yeah, of course. Then it's going to go, then it's an emotional war. Because we people are not rational at all, Because I know this from psychology. We are not rational. So what you said about the brother standing against the brother, neighbor against neighbor, it's so it's so probable.
Yeah.
Because you have this war on ideologies, on emotions,
And
it's frightening. You're right.
And that article about that Mercer guy that talks about that, how they're want to manipulate people's emotions and control the masses. I think you got to be ready to fight at all times, no matter who you are. There was another guy in Canada that tweeted to me, keep presenting your fake news or whatever, because I had talked about the Sweden.
I hate that people are politicizing that word fake news. Whenever they disagree, they say fake news.
Yeah, everything's
That's
fake news.
Stupid. Yeah.
I want to come out with the fake news network. I think that would be a brilliant idea. Just 24 hours of fake news.
Like the Onion.
Today, I heard of unicorns. We're seen running down Sunset Boulevard.
Hilarious. Yeah. And this mass influence is so subtle that you don't even know it's happening. So, for example, I went to the Breitbart News and I clicked on a few articles. Just wanna know what is out there, and it's a lot of articles that they are pretending to come from a objective. So the headlines are deliberately objective, but they're so not.
Right.
For example, there was an article about refugees, and I forgot the headline because I just came up with it. Right. I don't remember, but it was a kind of an objective headline, and then if you read the article, it's so wrong in all forms, right? And the pictures that they use are horrible. They are so subtle influencing pictures. You saw a refugee, one refugee out of a whole crowd, and he was taking a selfie with his mobile phone.
I don't get it. What was?
So the article was about refugees.
Right.
Something, I forgot what it was. Refugees, blah, 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 coming in our country, whatever. And there was... So the visual representations on the Breitbart News are so wrong. They know what they're doing. They use a very subtle way to influence people's minds.
Right. So
a picture with the article was a refugee with a cell phone taking a selfie. So the message is, look, these refugees are not poor or politically
Right.
yeah. So my point is they use a lot of also subtle influencing factors.
Yeah.
Other than, being very racist
Right.
in the article. Oh, and by the way, that was only that article. Breitbart has a lot of filthy, racist articles, and yeah.
Well, I like that you would go look at that. Like, I mean, I looked at it once when it first came up, and I was like, oh, look at all that hateful shit on there. When Steve Bannon first popped into the news and stuff, I maybe looked at it twice. You'll go look at it and take a spin around Breitbart. There was that. I think it was this week where there was some Fox News story where they were saying that Trump is acting like doing that Shepard Carlson guy or whatever the fuck had a story about that Trump is being kind of bananas and these are the actions of a dictator. And you looked at the comment thread on the Fox News website, and all these Fox people are saying fake news. I
can't believe Fox News that you would write this article. Yeah.
But I mean, I love you for that. I would never in a million years think to go look at the comment section on Fox News. I would go peruse it for a second and see, oh, what are the, what's the other team talking about?
It's important to stay objective and, to have an attempt to be a little bit irrational amidst this emotional outcries of the country.
Well, people are batshit crazy now.
Which, hey, I wanted to point out this article, short column I read about Putin. So, his country is super poor.
Right.
It's terrible, right? Let me see. So the country has been trapped in recession since oil prices collapsed in 2014, right? And the West are also imposing sanctions because they grabbed Ukraine. The president and his oligarchs continue to live the high life in Moscow. Ordinary Russians are poor. Average wages are 8% less than $450, lower than China or Romania. So, and then food prices doubled. And even 50% of the Russians now grow vegetables to help them feed their family, right? And a quarter of Russian men before age 55, they die because of alcoholism. People say, if you don't have work, nobody needs them, so they drink. And yet, here it comes, and yet Putin's approval rating from the Russian people consistently hovers near 80%.
Wow.
That's because he's created a surge of nationalist pride in the motherland, while relentlessly utilizing international interventions, hacking, and propaganda to show Russians that the democratic West is no better.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's more to the story, but that makes me think about, the white nationalists, the people are so emotionally, going for Stephen Bannon and all these billionaire disgusting people.
He's a hell of a chess player, man. He wants to, he wants the European Union to collapse, for all of these countries to go, to isolate themselves, become nationalistic, patriotic, countries, and for them to draw closer to the United States, and no one ever question what happens to them. That
and still be popular.
Yeah, we watched that brilliant PBS documentary on Putin.
Oh, great! Let's talk about documentaries. I'm obsessed by CNN 60s.
Oh, you're watching the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Yeah, in the 60s.
Yeah, it's great. The first episode is amazing. It's about television in America and the beginning of television. And I'm from another country, and I just loved it. I didn't know you guys had such a beautiful, cool television history with the the Smother Brothers and Mary Taylor
Moore.
Moore, and then the other one. Oh, I forgot her name. Well, the one that never got married and got very popular, right? That's Mary Taylor.
Mary Tyler Moore. Yeah. What else have you learned? I love that.
Well, all those cool variety shows that came up, and all the late night shows with Carson, and then I saw young George Carlin, which was really cool, and I'm forgetting a lot of cool television beginnings.
And then last night I watched that episode with you, and it was all about the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, so this is already like episode 4 in season 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was all about the Kennedy. Yeah. So what do you think about that one?
That one was I mean, they say that's when America lost its innocence, and it's true. The government lied to us. We never got to know. Watching that episode, I thought, oh, okay, well, Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, which was the government's
right
thing. Conclusion. There's that mob museum in Las Vegas, and they have a whole exhibition where they make the case that it was the mafia that killed Kennedy.
Yeah.
There's so many. I don't believe the magic bullet theory. I don't think one bullet went through Kennedy and through the governor of Texas. So, Lee Harvey Oswald had a bolt action rifle. Did he really get off 3 shots from the school book depository in 5.2 seconds? I think Kennedy's head clearly goes back and to the left. I think there was a shooter in the grassy knoll.
Okay.
I'm glad we're covering this in 2017.
I like that there was one person with a really cool last name, starts with a Z. That person
Zapruder.
That person
Yeah.
filmed the whole before shot, after shot.
Yeah.
And that they're using their film. And their daughter was in there talking about it, and she was talking about it more in a philosophical, holistic way, saying, images mean so much, and it's amazing that people can see different things in the same images.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, and I guess
part.
that's like what we were talking about with information
and
news and words, and people see what they want to see and everything.
The mind, how you say it? The mind sees what the mind wants to see.
Something like that.
Something like that.
But it's cool that you're getting into all this history stuff.
You know what the another scary thing is when when you read something and you see you only read what you agree on, and the things that you disagree on, you don't read that. Your brain doesn't register that. Isn't it amazing?
Your brain doesn't register things that you disagree with?
Yeah. You only notice, your attention only goes to the things that you disagree on. So that's kind of what she says on the film, on the Kennedy assassination. When you believe a certain thing, you only see that in that film.
Yeah.
And when you... yeah, that's it, sorry.
Well, and there was that one aspect of it that I didn't know. The lawyer in New Orleans who in 1967, said that he had the answer, and that someone who acted with Lee Harvey Oswald.
That was a crazy story.
That was a real weird, crazy story. I never knew that. And so the whole country gets excited again, and
that's sorry, go ahead.
And it was some gay guy named Clay. It was really weird.
Remind me of Trump. That he says some weird things, I'm the smartest person.
Well, if you can't see it, I don't need to explain it to you. He would say shit like that to the reporters.
Yeah.
The New Orleans guy. Mm-hmm. Anyway. So,
crazy.
I had a great weekend in Phoenix. I did the Stand Up Live. I've never played this club before. And, I am happy to say that lots of fans, or Tom Rhodes, whatever you want to call them, Rhodesies, my people, turned out in droves at this show. It was awesome. I've never played this club before. I've done some lesser rooms in the Phoenix area, and it's right downtown. I loved this club. It's a great stage, and I put a lot of asses in the seats. I was thrilled.
Yay!
And the early shows on Friday and Saturday, Luis de Alba, who's like some Mexican film star, and he's like 72. He was on Univision Spanish television sitcoms for years. I would go to the 7 o'clock early show. I watched his show on Friday, and his show was packed with Mexican people, and the show was in Spanish. But it was so cool to sit in that room and see all these Mexican people. A lot of these people look like really hardworking people too. And then there was also like very dolled up, wealthy looking people, but just like a great. It reminded me of the comedy travel show that I want to make. Just sitting in this room listening to Spanish language comedy, and it wasn't stand up. They were doing like kind of skits and scenes. It was this very rotund woman named Fabiola, who I remember flicking through the channels and seeing them on the sitcom on Spanish television, and just the love that these people in the audience had for this guy. It was just remarkable, and I really, really loved it.
Beautiful.
And then I worked with Andy Steinberg. I love this guy. He does a lot of jokes about his son. His son came back. His son was backstage, and he's like 16. He's laughing his ass off. He's watching his dad on the screen. The kid really got a kick out of the fact that his dad does jokes about him. And I'm in the dressing room, and there's a little refrigerator with drinks in it. And he goes, "Hey Tom, will you hand me a water?" And
with this little kid?
And he's like 16. He's not that little. And I just looked at the kid and I go, "I don't think you understand how this headliner thing works." He's sitting on the couch. He's got his feet up on the coffee table. "Hey, Tom, grab me water, will you?"
Really?
That's very funny.
It's hilarious.
But I love Andy Steinberg. And Andy took me, there's a brilliant vinyl record store if you ever go to Phoenix. There's one that's a chain called Zia, and they're a little pricey. But downtown Phoenix, there's a vinyl record store called Revolver. And it's really great, really old school. And you can find great cheap bargains. The last time I was there, I got tons of shit. But I got James Brown, I got Bob Dylan, I got Johnny Cash. I got some really great shit on vinyl. And there was a Chuck Berry vinyl record, and I had the guy play it. and
Ashna loves Chuck Berry.
And I was getting it for you because you love Chuck Berry. And the guy looks at it and he goes, "There's a crack. There's a tiny crack on the vinyl." And I'm thinking, okay, he's going to lower the price. He goes, "I tell you what, I'll give it to you." And so I think that is worth me doing a commercial. If you ever go to Revolver, if you ever go to Phoenix, go visit Revolver. The guy gave me a great Chuck Berry record.
And say Tom recommended you.
Tell him Tom Rhodes sent you. And another thing I did, you know what's great about vinyl record stores is nobody wants the classical music. You go to the classical music section, and they're like $2, $3 for the vinyl records. And you and I wake up and we play a lot of jazz records. We play a lot of Vivaldi. We'll play Ella Fitzgerald, the Gershwin songbook.
Vivaldi's great when we're working.
It's great to listen to great classical music when you're working or waking up and having coffee like we do.
Yeah, and it's good for your mind to go creative in a creative way, right?
Yeah.
I like when we're reading a book. I like Ella Fitzgerald
Yeah.
and Gershwin. But yeah, I really, really like it when we work and Vivaldi is in the background.
So what I did on I went there on Friday afternoon after I had my morning radio shows to Revolver, and I picked up a couple of Vivaldi records for my smoochie and the other stuff that I found. And so on the next day, I took note that the vinyl classical records were so cheap. So I Googled greatest classical symphonies of all time. And I wrote down the list of the 10 greatest symphonies of all time. Like
Bring it on!
Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique, Mahler Symphony No. 2, Brahms Symphony No. 4,
Mahler,
Mozart right? Symphony No. 41. So I went back and I found like 4 of these greatest symphonies. And they were like $2 each. So it's great. So there's a little tip for you kids. Tchaikovsky, Symphony No. 6. Pathétique. And Rachmaninoff, Symphony No. 2. Anyway, so yeah, I got like 4 great symphonies, greatest symphonies of all time.
Thank you, Revolver.
Thank you,
Phoenix.
Revolver. Thanks, Jared, who's behind the counter and gave me a Chuck Berry record.
So whenever you're in Phoenix, just go to Revolver Records.
Yeah, and the other commercial is, you can go to tomrhodes.net and you can go to Amazon through the banner and somehow it helps Tom Rhodes. And there's also a donate button. So I don't have any commercials. This is the commercial. And,
You're not very convincing. And, just go to the button and... Hey people, if you love me, Tom Rhodes, just go to the button and donate.
Donate some money, yeah.
Or go to Amazon. Actually, maybe that's a better deal for you.
Buy some books. Look for this great book that I'm reading, The Ragged Trousered Philanthropists.
We want you guys to buy more books.
Yeah, go there and get some Seneca books.
Yeah, Seneca. Do Seneca.
Buy Voltaire, Candide. So
this is going to be more about your books. So my favorite thing is when you are so obsessed by a book that you read it in the morning, you read it at night, during the day, and you're so obsessed by it. And then I like it when it's a really thick book and I can see you in a few days and I'm wondering, oh, where is he now? Where is he now? And then you go, you read very fast. And I think, that's kind of cool. I like that very much.
Well, it's funny, like if it's sometimes like there's been like little thin books and I'm not into it and it takes me a long time. But like when I'm really into a book, I'll read it whenever I have a break. And this book I started reading like a week ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks ago. And it's like 624 pages. And I am on page 475.
That's amazing. So in the beginning you told us, so what's the cool title again?
The Ragged Trousered Philanthropists.
So in the beginning you told us, so this is about a bunch of people doing construction work and they're all religious, they're all being on the thumb by authorities, right? And there's one guy who is an
he's an atheist. Yeah.
And he's a
socialist.
A socialist.
And so everybody else, they're all religious and they're all conservative and they all keep supporting this system that doesn't work for them.
Okay, so what have you learned in half of the book? You're further now.
Shit, I had the little thing I wanted to read.
What has been happening?
So, these people are starving to death.
Right.
They're not, and reading this book, you feel like so good about yourself. No matter where you are in life, you're so glad you're not in England, 100 years ago. And these people are like starving. They gotta pawn their furniture, their clothes. And there was these councilmen are the same people that this guy that owns the construction company that they work for, and then the guy who owned this house that they were doing work on, and of course they're doing like shifty shit and voting themselves um, things in their favor, and they invested some money in some company. They get the town to buy it. They're just like total scumbag criminals, and they won't. They do all these things for like children, like they got to support the children, but they don't want to like cut the gas rate like a half a shilling, so that these families won't keep this cycle of starving and working to death.
So, is there any personages in there being discussed, or is it just stories about how the system works?
Oh, here we go.
Did you hear what I said?
Any personages? I don't know.
The characters.
Oh, the characters. Yeah, well, there's the guy Owen, who's great, and he's like a socialist. He tries to explain to the other workers why money is the cause of poverty, and they all like flip out. And what do you mean? And he's saying that the natural resources are available to everybody, but it's the machinery and the hard labor that creates wealth and money, and it's just it's this incredible passages that the guy explaining to them why it is, and they don't want to hear anything about it. They think they think the guy should have his face smashed in, and then also they don't the fact that he doesn't believe in God. Like some of them, they think they won't even let him in their house. They're like their wives think that guy's like a heretic. So he has a Christmas party. Here's a couple of things I'll read to you. For a couple of his workers, and there's a kid named Bert that works at the construction company, and he does the shittiest stuff. He carries the paint, cleans the brushes, he does all this stuff. His mom and his family was in such poverty, his mom wanted him to have a skill. So she wanted him to like learn how to paint or be a carpenter or whatever. So she talks to the construction company, and to get him an apprenticeship, she signs over him for a 5-year period where he's not making anything. So the kid is a slave to this company for 5 years just so he can learn. And the kid is like, and all of them, they got ragged clothes. They're all starving to death. So anyway, this is an interesting scene where Owen, it's Christmas, and he has these people over. And like the mom brings out like, the decorations from last year, which were the...
Jeez, I'm getting depressed all by
this. It's such a fucking depressing book.
It's like a modern Oliver Twist.
So the kid, it's totally Oliver Twist. So Bert, he makes this special thing, like a little theater, and it's got a revolving...
Who, the kid?
The kid. To show everybody at Christmas.
Oh, please don't say something mean because I'm going to cry.
It's fantastic.
Oh, okay.
So he makes this little machine where he turns the crank.
Yeah.
And like he's glued pictures onto a canvas.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And the canvas is on a roller, right? And so it's like a little box, but it's like a little ViewMaster thing, and he turns the thing, and then also so he's glued pictures on it, and he's also like painted with watercolors and drawn pictures. So he's going through this thing and he's telling the story. So okay, so here's Bert's little ViewMaster he brings over for the delight of the adults on Christmas. Next, we find ourselves looking on at the Lord Mayor's supper at the Mansion House. All the fat men that you see sitting at the tables as Liberal and Tory members of Parliament. After this, we have a very beautiful picture entitled Four-Footed Aristocrats. Here you see Lady Slumrent's pet dogs sitting up on chairs at their dinner table, with white linen napkins tied round their necks, eaten off silver plates like human people, and being waited on by real live waiters in the evening dress. Lady Slumrent is very fond of her pretty pets and she does not allow them to be fed on anything but the best food. They get chicken, rump steak, mutton chops, rice pudding, jelly, and custard. So here's this other scene that he talks about. And he says, here we have another election scene. At each side, we see the two candidates, the same as in the last picture. In the middle of the road, we see a man lying on the ground, covered with blood, with lots of Liberal and Tory working men kicking him, jumping on him, and stamping on his face with their obnobbed, nailed boots. The bloke on the ground is a socialist, and the reason why they're kicking his face in is because he said that the only difference between slum rent and man driver was that they was both alike. Whilst the audience were admiring this picture, Bert played another well-known tune, and the children sang the words, "Two lovely black eyes, oh what a surprise, only for telling a man he was wrong, two lovely black eyes."
Fucked up.
It's so fucked up, man.
It's a little bit humorous, though.
It's really humorous.
It's kind of satire.
But I love the fact that the kid drew a picture of a socialist getting his ass beat. And that's the thing. So, like...
It's something your brother will do.
Yeah. So anytime anybody talks about socialism, or they accuse people of being socialist, it's like a real bad thing. And it's like, just these people, it's God and country and their conservative political party that they refuse to look at any other, to consider any other viewpoint.
Critical way,
and to even be suspected of being a socialist, you'll get your ass beat, or like families won't even talk to you.
It's an interesting book to read right now, isn't it?
It goes along with the times right now perfectly. I don't know if everybody would love this book, but it's like, it's
but
really...
you're having a good time reading it.
I am fucking loving this book. It goes perfect with the times we're living in. So
sounds great.
And I've been working. Last night I worked on my chapter of my book.
The book.
I finished the first draft last year, and so I'm trying to get it presentable to bring to a publisher, and hopefully get the book published.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll happen. It's just a matter of cleaning things up. So last night I was organizing the chapter and writing filling in holes for the chapter when I worked for You're in Travel. Uh-huh. When I did the travel show after the late night talk show for Dutch television. Uh-huh. And I found some incredible shit that I've already written. I forgot about the Iraqi Kurd girl that I dated before I dated Shamila, the Moroccan girl that I was crazy about forever. The Iraqi girl, Vian was her name. She was really fun, and when I had the late night talk show on Dutch television, I made €1,000 an episode. I would do 4 a month, and my rent in this Rockstar pad was like 2,000, 2,500 euros, something like that. It was really ridiculous. This was like, what, fucking
10 years ago?
12, 15 years ago. So when that ended on the travel show, I made considerably less money. I had a day rate where I would get like 150 euros a day. And those filming things, Peru was like 2 weeks. St. Petersburg, Russia was like, I think, 5 days. But usually they were like 3 to 5 days. So anyway, I left that apartment. And when I would be in Amsterdam, I stayed with Vian, the Iraqi girl, a lot. Because we were going out and stuff. And she was great. She really helped me out a lot. She held that over my head a few times. But it was really cool.
That she stayed with you?
Yeah, the fact that I needed her help. That I
That's horrible.
Well, yeah. She was She was Iraqi.
Oh my God, really?
I mean, these people, they enjoy conflict.
No,
Yeah.
that's
She would, she'd get pissed and, you know, sound like a Saddam Hussein speech. But, so that was really interesting to look back on that. And then, that period in my life. And, you know, when I went to Peru, that trip, I already wrote all about that. I wrote about St. Petersburg, Russia when I was there for the travel
you know
show.
what story I love? Give us
Which
a few
one?
stories. The fruit.
Oh, yeah. I think I've told that story before.
On the podcast?
I'm not sure. But so one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life, I took the train from Cuzco to Puno through the Andes. And Cuzco was the Rome of the Inca Empire. It's the closest city to Machu Picchu. Those things I highly recommend. And then we took the train to Puno, which is the biggest city on Lake Titicaca. And, you know, on the shores of Lake Titicaca, there's a statue of Beavis and Butthead laughing. I'm kidding. No, I'm joking.
Why are you saying that?
Because it's called Titicaca, and only a child would giggle at the dirty-sounding name of that. So, our Dutch guide that was with us, we were going on a boat, like 3 hours onto Lake Titicaca to Lake Amintani Island, and our guide told us. So we were going to stay with an indigenous family. These are the direct descendants of the Incas. And there's no electricity on the island. These people are living the way the Incas did, you know, like 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago. So the guy says that they have no fruit on the island and to bring fruit. So we went to this market in Puno before we got on the boat, and I bought a bag of oranges. Hey, man, I'm from Florida. I'm bringing fucking oranges. So we land on the docks, and the mom of the family is greeting us, and she sees the guide, and she knows we're the people that's going to be staying with her. She just, hello, real quick. She went straight for that bag of oranges, tore it open, and you should have seen this woman eat this orange. Jesus Christ, the way she peeled it and like just she made love to that orange and just like was moaning with ecstasy, and like a little drop of orange juice was running down her wrist, and she licked it, and then she licked her hand clean. There was nothing left of that orange. You know, I want to live my life the way that woman ate that orange.
I love that.
Just enjoying every drop of it. And that was really powerful too, staying there. So I wrote all about this.
I love that story by the orange.
Yeah, so
I eat oranges like that.
This is all in my book. This is all in that chapter that I'm working on right now to get presentable. So we stay with this family, and you always hear about like Native Americans don't like to have their pictures taken because it like takes their soul or something.
Yeah.
Pachamama is Mother Earth. And their religion, they worship Pachamama, Mother Earth. So they told us about their most sacred ritual to Pachamama. They only do it like a couple times a year. And we're like, oh yeah, well, it's too bad we're going to miss that. And they go, oh, why don't we do it for you and you can film it?
Oh, cool.
I mean, of course, they were speaking Spanish and someone else translated it. So the whole village came out and they recreated this ceremony to Pachamama. And
cool.
The guy took a bag, the not chief, not medicine man, the word witch doctor's on my tongue.
Shaman?
But it's just shaman or whatever, the holy man of the
dude with a beard.
The religious respected elder. So he takes a burlap bag. They took a bunch of cow shit, made a pile, and then the guy took a burlap bag, and he put some shit in there, and then a coca leaf for everybody who was in attendance goes into the bag, and then he hands the bag around to everybody, and everybody one at a time, says a prayer while holding the bag. And then you pass it on to the next person, and they say a prayer out loud. And I think there's like 10 or 12 of us. No, the whole village. Maybe there was 20 of us. And then the shaman, priest or whatever he was, he holds it up to the sky, and he does some big, long prayer. And then he put the bag on the pile of the cow shit, and he set it on fire. And it burns.
Oh, it must have been a very delightful smell.
Well, it was, and it's...
Is it toxic?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was beautiful. And I'll never forget the handsome Dutch sound man holding the boom microphone with tears running down his face. It was like so beautiful that these people had done this for us, And then they also cooked you 3 meals a day. You can still do this. It's Lake Amintani Island. You can stay with an indigenous family. Back then it was like $3 a night, and you get 3 meals that they cook for you. I'm sure now it's probably been raised to $7 or $8 a night. But I remember thinking, I'm going to eat whatever this woman puts in front of me. I'm from the South. I'm going to be polite, and I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to hurt their feelings. And it was like I was in the kitchen with this woman. It's dirt floor. There's chicken shells and chicken shit on the floor and chickens walking around. And I'm thinking, man, I might get sick here. The soup was incredible that she made. When we flew back to Amsterdam from Lima, we stopped in Atlanta. We had a layover for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
And my Dutch colleagues wanted to have lunch. Not have lunch. They wanted to go to a real, authentic American mall. And I know Atlanta really well. I took them to the Lenox Mall, which is the big rich people mall of Atlanta. And we had lunch there, and I had a sandwich that had undercooked bacon in it, and I got food poisoning.
Oh.
And the flight from Atlanta to Amsterdam was the worst, longest flight of my life. I was in the bathroom for most of it, and I couldn't stop shitting and vomiting. I felt bad for the people whose chairs were next to that bathroom.
There must have been agony.
Yeah, so it was amazing that the whole time I was in Peru, I didn't get sick. I got sick at the rich people mall in Atlanta. Isn't that remarkable? So that story's in the book, and then there's that's the chapter that has almost drowning in Thailand, the goldfish story from Hong Kong. There's a lot of great stories in that chapter.
That's great.
Yeah,
we're looking forward to it.
Getting closer to finishing my book. Yeah.
People better buy it because here's Tom. Hey Tom, can you do the dishes? No, I'm an artist. I have to finish my book.
I'm finishing my book.
For the last 4 years.
Is there anything you'd like to add as we wrap this?
No, nothing. I just want to say that we have to leave right now. And I'm going to publish this without editing. So this is a disclaimer. Sorry for all the noises and for the weird sounds. But I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going to put it out.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I have a show I have to get to. I have to pull on my socks and shoes.
Let's take a photo real quick and then we can post it.
Okay. And
that's only what I want to say. You?
I need to think of a clever end song. Oh, I know. At the record store, I found an album called Nashville Rebel. It's a movie soundtrack, and it has Waylon Jennings doing the Beatles' Norwegian Wood.
Can I Google that?
Yeah. Why don't we end with that song?
Okay, great.
Okay. And shalom, amigos amigas. Thanks for listening to the podcast.
Mwah.
Mwah. Long may you run.